Hey, Soraya.
Hey, Jeff.
So we're finally getting around to an episode that we were going to do a year ago, 2 years ago. It had to have been
It
before the
has to have
pandemic
been at least 2 years ago.
because it was before the pandemic broke out.
Pinche pandemic turned everything upside down. But, Jeff, I don't think we're speaking ahead of ourselves or speaking out of turn when we say, I think you and I are both big Wednesday week fans.
Definitely.
And now there's this big, gorgeous, beautiful album of some early recordings
There
of
is.
the band, but under a different name.
Yes.
Band called Narrow Adventure.
Yes.
Yeah, look at that big, beautiful piece of vinyl.
Yeah.
And
I got the
and the
sticker.
space case sticker. We're really fortunate to be able to speak with Kelly and Kristi Callan and Kjehl Johansen.
Yes.
So,
all three members of the band.
I love it. So I think we should get started.
Let's do it.
Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff,
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
a podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a groovear.
Let's get groovy.
Well, Jeff, I think our listeners, now we get to clue them in.
Yeah.
Let everyone know who has joined us today.
Yeah, so we've got all three members of Narrow Adventure talking to us today. So Kjehl Johansen, the bass player.
Correct.
Welcome. And your first time being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And Kelly, the drummer and background vocalist and lyricist. Welcome back. And then Kristi, singer, guitar player, and kitty cats.
Special guest star.
Yep. Yeah. So when we had Kelly and Kristi on before, we were talking about Wednesday week and the progression of the band. And I recall during that discussion, we were talking about how the two of you were the undeclared or an undeclared band. And then Steve Wynn joined you guys for Goat Deity. And then you became Narrow Adventure and then Wednesday week. So we wanted to focus in on that little period, 81 to 83, if the album cover is accurate, or the name of the new record. Can you tell us about transitioning from Goat Deity into Narrow Adventure and welcoming your new bass player?
Well, I was just thinking we have to do a Goat Deity one of these.
Yes. Yes. That means
Just
I
kidding.
will be there. I will show up.
Gosh. Kelly, anything to say about that? Oh, we have another visitor. The professor is here. So yes, we parted ways with Steve Wynn and we were, I guess, going to see the Urinals all the time and
as
friends
one
with
should.
them. Yes, really.
We weren't going to the urinals. We were going to.
Right. Yeah, two completely
Thank
different
you.
things.
Thank you for that clarification, Kelly.
I mean, all I can do is surmise that, we were talking about it and Kel said, I could do that. I mean, what do you remember, Kelly?
Oh, I thought you were punting that to Cal.
Well, he can go next, but what do you remember?
I don't remember actually, so I'll be happy for Kel to jump in.
Come on, Kel.
Made that transition.
I think I remember. Yeah, we got to know you two, Kristi and Kelly, at shows and fans of the Urinals. And then I don't know, somehow we started talking about what you guys were doing. And that I think that was probably not too long after Steve left and you were looking for a third member. And you mentioned something about bass. And I said, yeah, I can help out. I'll learn how to play bass. And so it was like, yeah, let's give this a try. And I think it was just kind of just seemed like a good idea. It came together kind of pretty easy and really informal. And I thought, oh, that'd be fun to play bass. I think, if I remember when the Urinals first started, I wanted to play bass, but John had already got a bass, and so I had to learn guitar. And so I think it probably went back to that too, of me thinking of originally wanting to play bass. And so, yeah, I remember talking to Vitas Monterey from the last about that, and Danny and Trotsky. And he said, yeah, well, that's back in the days. I don't know if you guys remember when they had a print paper called The Recycler that would come out every Thursday, and it would have things for sale. It's kind of like Craigslist. And he found a Hagstrom 8-string bass on Craigslist that was ridiculously cheap. I mean, it was like probably $100.
Wow.
And I'd never heard of the Hagstrom. He's like, oh yeah, they're really cool, and you really need to check this out. And so I went and checked it out, and it turned out that it belonged to Hunt Sales from, Hunt and his brother played in Tin Machine and had played with Iggy Pop, and were the sons of Soupy Sales.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah, I remember walking into this Hollywood apartment, and there's like pictures on the wall. It's like, that's Soupy Sales. And I see this big drum that had like Hunt Sales, big band, or what. I looked at that. I looked at the picture. I looked at him, and I said, is your dad Soupy Sales? And it's kind of like, yeah. So I was like, wow, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
So I tried negotiating, and he goes, no, the price is really low. So if you want it, get some cash and come back. Otherwise, thanks. So I went and got an extra $20 out of a bank and came back and bought it. And that's how I got my bass. And that was part of the sound, because Kristi got a 12-string. And so we had the double stringed instruments. But yeah, I think it was just, they were looking for someone. We were friends. I was up for an adventure. It turned out to be a narrow one. Sorry for the pun, but yeah. So we just started rehearsing at Kristi and Kelly's mom's place, and it was one of those things where I didn't know what I was doing on bass, and so we just came up with stuff that worked with our abilities.
Do you still own the bass?
Sadly, I got rid of it, but when we started talking about a reunion, I tracked the same model down and found a guy in Seattle and used my frequent flyer miles and just flew up for free and picked one up. So
Wow.
there you go.
Very
And
cool.
Kristi has her original 12-string that she played.
Ah, excellent. So how do the songs come together? We know that Kelly wrote all the lyrics, if not most of the lyrics. I'm pretty
Most of
sure.
them.
All of them. Yeah, not all of them.
So how did the songwriting process go? Kristi, did you come in with the music and then Kelly would write lyrics, or how would this work?
Well, as I remember being asked this question back in the day, and I remember my answer. So probably this is it. That she would give me the lyrics and they would sing themselves to me. So I would look at the lyrics and I'd be like, And especially if you listen to a lot of these songs. I mean, I took theory and I took guitar lessons and I took, a lot of music classes and stuff, but it was still pretty unconventional in a lot of ways for some of the songs because I wanted to be different. So, but a lot of the stuff just goes with the words and doesn't necessarily repeat much, because so yeah, I just wrote the music to go with the words.
So the words came first.
Usually, I
Wow.
mean, I'd say 90% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Good question. I never knew the answer to that, so I'm learning along with you guys.
Well, they would inspire the music. I mean, here's some frustrated words. I'm mad. I'm gonna write some mad, whatever I thought mad music was, or frustrated music was, so yeah.
Very cool. And we didn't mention, Soraya, that Kjehl was from the Urinals, 100 Flowers, a bunch of bands, Trotsky Ice Pick, Danny and the Doorknobs, who we saw live, Soraya,
Yes.
performing a few years back. So
Yes.
I should have mentioned that during the introductions. So the recording, you guys had mentioned Vetus. How did you come to the point where you recorded these songs? Was it
Well,
all one session for all 10 of these songs? Well, we know that there's some live.
Yeah,
songs.
and one of the songs actually was not recorded by Vetus. There was a gentleman who used to come to shows that we got to know named Keith, who went to UCLA, and he had a class where he was like a recording class, and he needed a band to record. So he recorded us. That was the song Prop 2. So we went down to this place and we recorded Prop 2 with Keith Goldfarb, who I loved that Keith. Keith was great. And he ended up working for Rhythm and Hues, which was an animation studio. They did Babe and all kinds of amazing things, and real cool guy. I guess so he didn't end up becoming a producer, recording producer, but he did other amazing things. So we did that one. Then there's a recording of a rehearsal that we actually did with David, and David's on bass for one song because it was a rehearsal after Kjehl left. And then there were a couple live shows, but with Vetus, it was because, I mean, I again, we knew Vetus and Kjehl from going to see their bands. And I guess he heard that we had a band and said, oh, well, maybe I should, record you. I'm thinking, Kelly, do you remember much about it? Or Kjehl, do you remember much about it?
I remember recording at, he had a studio, a garage that was converted into a recording studio on Lyceum off of, I think it was Venice in Mar Vista.
Yeah.
And I remember recording there. And
Yes.
he did a lot of recording. He did last recordings there. I know he recorded a number of other bands. I think he did some Urinals or 100 Flowers stuff, maybe Salmonella or some other tracks that ended up on compilations. So he was just, I mean, he had the setup, he was recording, and he still is great. But back then his thing was he liked finding new bands. He liked bands starting out, and he loved to just kind of help them get something recorded and see if they wanted to put it out or do something with it, help them get, make a demo tape for getting booked. So he was very much into recording his friends and family and people on the scene. So we kind of fell under that umbrella. Yeah.
And it was obviously an awesome opportunity for us, it really got us going. And we're so lucky. I mean, I think about some of the bands from back then who didn't record. It's like, it's crazy. And I don't know what our path would have been if Vetus hadn't invited us into the Lyceum studio. So,
Right.
But again, I think that also all goes back to Gary, right? If Gary got us our first show, and of course, Gary was, I think, managing the Last at that point, and so we were playing with the Last, and that's another reason why we were friends and playing together. But yeah, absolutely. And this was our first recording experience. I don't know about for you, probably not. You probably recorded other places before you recorded with Vetus, yes?
No, Vetus was he quote discovered us at a Halloween party in the dorms at Dykstra, came up to us afterwards and said, would you like to record? I think you guys are great. I'd like to record you. And so that was October. And then on Thanksgiving weekend, we recorded the 4 songs for the first EP in his pool house. Yeah. So that was our introduction to Vetus and our introduction to recording.
What year?
Yeah. Let's see, 75, 76,
79 or 80?
7. I think it might have been 78. Yeah, I think it was October 78.
Wow.
Let's see, 75, 6, 7. So, yeah, it was 70, October of 78.
Wow, that's cool.
Well, that's when he saw us in November. Yeah. And then once we recorded it, we're like, well, cool. What do we do with it? And he just said, well, you should put it out. And we're like, oh, we can't do that. And he knew how to do it. And so he walked us through the process. And that's how the Urinals put out their first. Kristi, I want you to say, this is
Thank you,
this is
Kjehl.
Clayton. So so we formed Happy Squid Records and put that out. So
That's awesome.
yeah, the first real studio was when your buddy Keith brought us into that recording studio. I think it was off, it was like near Highland Park or Mount
Yeah.
Washington. Is off the 110. I
Yep.
remember that.
Yep.
And it was like a real studio, and they had like real microphones.
It's true. Yeah.
And it was like, oh wow, this is real stuff. So yeah, I mean, not that Vitas didn't have real stuff, but he was really good with lo-fi approach and getting really interesting performances out of bands that kind of captured what they were like live. And so
Absolutely.
that's what his specialty was, with certainly with the Urinals and 100 Flowers.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I was just gonna ask Kelly, do you remember that recording at all? The first experience recording with Vitas?
Uh, yes, I do. And, I mean, it was awesome. It's amazing to think about how everything happened back then. And, I mean, as you're saying, Kel, he recorded a lot of bands, and to be part of that was really pretty cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
I think Vitas had a couple different places that he recorded at. I think you mentioned the garage and then the pool room. Those were two different places.
So the first place he recorded was his parents' house, the pool house in the back. He had a 4-track recorder, and then he graduated to a garage that he converted, and I think he was still recording 4-track at that time. And then I remember he transitioned. He sold that place. We started recording at Radio Tokyo, Heath and James' place. And then Vitas got another place in Mar Vista. He bought a house and he built a garage studio from scratch with, really pro equipment and a control room and mixing speakers and everything like that, where the Danny and the Doorknobs and well, actually the Trotsky, some of the later Trotsky albums were recorded.
Okay. So is that the place with the pool in the backyard?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we recorded Baby there.
Did you
And
record there,
El
Jeff?
Kabong.
Yeah. So our band White Glove Test, our leap
Yes.
recorded there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But this one was recorded a couple places before, the Narrow Adventure stuff.
Yes.
Oh, very cool. So
So-
Soraya, go ahead.
But I just wanted to add, so you record this, and I really like the story of this first recording experience. Where do these tapes and where do they go from here? Where are these Narrow Adventure tapes that then we get to hear now? And Jeff, show the props, please.
Oh,
That beautiful album.
I
and
have a
there is
couple.
cassette. We're going to talk about both in a second.
yes.
So where did these tapes end up?
Oh, well, under the bed.
That's not where tapes belong after all this work recording.
I just have to say, just back to the, we recorded them and we made cassette copies of them and used them to book shows,
Okay.
right? But then he wanted to do Wharfat Tales.
Yes.
And so we recorded 2 songs for Wharfat Tales. And those got on there. And then after that, and that was great when that came out, we wanted to do more recording. At that point, Kjehl had left, and we had Dave Provost help us. He just was saying, you need to go to Radio Tokyo and do it there. So we went and started recording at Radio Tokyo. So the first batch of stuff, the Narrow Adventure, and then we had become Wednesday Week because we just said we couldn't keep the name Narrow Adventure. He wanted 2 tracks on Wharfat Tales. He said, but I'm not putting it's Narrow Adventures, just a dumb, you have to have a better name. So that's when we really changed. Cal is on those recordings. It was Narrow Adventure really, but it's called Wednesday Week. But that was almost kind of like the dividing line, because that was about the time Cal left and we started doing Wednesday Week stuff and recorded at Radio Tokyo. So the stuff that we did with Vetus in the garage, I don't know. I mean, we used it to get shows, but it just kind of was on tapes, that sat under the bed.
So there was never an intention to shop it around or self-release it or Happy Squid?
No, because
it is surprising. It's like,
well, things were happening quickly then, and we were just like, now we're doing Warfare Tales, and now we're, Cal's gone, and we're Wednesday Week, and we're doing Radio Tokyo, and there wasn't really time. It just didn't happen. And, like you said, Cal, with them telling you how to put it out, with Wednesday Week, it was the same thing. It was like, we put that out ourselves, and Vitus and Gary were like, here's how you do it, because we were like you, Cal, I don't know how to do that. And they said, we'll show you, we'll tell you. And it was so great. And I just thought, it scared me to think about, I don't know how to do that, but they were great. So I just don't think there was time to put it out. Wouldn't you say, Kelly? I don't know.
I was gonna say that's where Betsy's house came in.
Right.
Yeah, that was Betsy's house. So that was after, but this stuff, I think we recorded, and then we were on to Warfare Tales, and it just, things happened. I don't know. It's been under the bed.
Yeah, it was funny. I remember recording at Keith's. I remember recording those two songs for Warfrat Tales. But it's funny, when you told me that this was coming out and I saw all the tracks, I was like, oh man, I didn't remember that we had recorded all those songs.
I kind of didn't either.
And so it was just, it was amazing to me. It's like, I'd forgotten we recorded them, and I forgot that we had good performances and good recordings of them. And so, and I'd forgotten that we had the live set recorded too. That I'm sure that's something Vetus did. So I was really surprised, when Kelly and Kristi got in touch with me and told me about this. And I just was like, I just felt like we were really lucky that we had recorded that early stuff, and it was still in good enough shape to be able to be mixed and put out. So yeah, I can understand why we didn't put it out at the time, because like you said, Kristi, things were changing with the lineup, with the band name, with other opportunities. So, we're just lucky, like Kelly said, that we got this recorded and still have it to put out.
Yeah. So the big question is, why now? And how did this happen to where we're glad that it did happen?
Yes.
I had nothing to do with it. So you're going to have to talk to the Callan sisters about that.
So
I remember Don, who's my husband and was around back then as my boyfriend from the day one, was urging us to digitize everything that we had for Narrow Adventure. I guess, as you said, like before it falls apart and the tapes aren't going to be good anymore. And that was quite a process to find all the things that we had. And like you said, Kel, kind of surprising also to see how much we actually did have.
Yeah.
Between like the live stuff.
Well, David was good at tracking all of that down. So one thing is, David, David, my husband, David, he, Vetus would give him his old equipment and old stuff. David was really interested in everything. They were in the last together. And David saved everything and kept everything. And Vetus would get tired of holding on to things and give them to David. So even still, I think we probably under the bed have all kinds of people's tapes. The Question, I know we had the Long Riders for a long time. A lot of bands from maybe Wharf Rat bands that Vetus would have their tapes, and he was sick of holding on everybody's tapes. And so we ended up with them. So David is kind of the archivist. And so thankfully we had David, and he was willing to go through all the stuff and find it and clean it up and, make it doable.
So were they like 1/2 inch reels?
1/4 inch.
Oh, quarter inch. So then I'm sure
Well,
they
we have
had,
half and quarter. I'm sorry. We have half-inch reels with 4 tracks, and then we'd have mixes on quarter-inch. Sorry.
so I would
But yeah,
imagine
we have
those,
half-inch. Yeah.
those tapes needed to be baked, I would imagine, which is a process because that tape gets brittle after so many years. And then
So
so
David
they,
should be in here. He should be telling these things. Yeah.
so for the listeners, they actually put these tapes in ovens and bake them so that they will be a little bit more pliable, right? So they don't snap off. We did that recently with some white glove test tapes, and they said it was good once. So once we baked them, we digitize them, and they get really brittle because it's old, and tape gets
Yeah.
old. So you had to do that with these narrow adventure tapes. Something.
David would be able to tell me. David,
Was it
I-
that or driving them around in the trunk of a car?
No.
in,
I'm
in
trying
Los
to-
Angeles in the summer, that'll work.
Yeah, there you go.
trying to remember if Bill Inglot was
I
involved.
was gonna say,
I think, yeah, I think they had to be baked. Yeah.
Okay, so then
Bill
you get
Inglot. David says Bill Inglot did it. Yes. Thank you, David.
so then they all get digitized, and you realize that you have all these songs, an album's worth.
and didn't Vitas and David remixed? Didn't they do some?
Yes, Vitas came over here
Oh,
and
wow.
they remixed. He remixed them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that they weren't already mixed down. So you still had the multi-track tapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And maybe that was partly why nothing ever came out also. I mean, it's like we hadn't gotten everything ready to like hand anybody. I don't know that was ever the intention. Yeah.
So maybe there was cassette versions that you could hand to clubs and whatnot, but not anything ready to be
Yeah.
pressed or mastered.
Yeah.
So Don is we can thank Don for this happening.
Absolutely.
Mr. Don Williams, thank you very much for this. So then you decided
I
to.
have to say, you always hear these stories, these old rockers thanking their wives and spouses. I love it. The two Callan sisters are thanking their husbands for, coming up with the ideas and encouraging them to do this. I love the turnabout.
Flipping the script right here.
Yeah.
Somebody pushing you frequently because it's hard for you to remember that anybody cares about that stuff. You're too close to it. So the people who are at least one step behind it can go, you need to take care of this. And he just kept pushing and saying, and plus, everybody's busy, right, with their life. I'll get to it. And you need somebody who pushes. And so he did. And then, David was willing to go through all of those boxes, probably not all well labeled. I don't know. So it's a process.
Indeed.
Fair
So
enough.
then that brings us to the cassette version, which was a couple years ago, which we got very excited about. We jumped on the chance to invite you guys in to talk about it. And there was going to be a show, right, to promote the cassette release. And I think 2 or 3 days before Kristi, that happened, we had the whole burger release thing. So how did you get to ask Burger to release the cassette when they were going to put it out as a cassette?
The funny thing is, Karen Blankfeld, Karen Blankfeld, Pandora's from
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Karen
Rebel
Bassett.
Pebbles.
Yeah.
Karen Bassett. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She'll always be Karen Blankfeld to me. Karen Bassett. I'm sorry. I just went back to the 80s.
Formally.
Yes, back before we got Heidi in Wednesday week, Karen wanted to try out, or maybe she was going to try out for lead guitar. I don't know. She was going to try out for Wednesday week, and we already had somebody, but we became friends. Anyway, she had suggested that Burger might be somebody that would be interested in putting it out.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, okay, so she asked them, and they wrote and said, we'd love to put that out.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we said, okay,
Ah.
but we wanted it on vinyl. And they said, all right, let's try for Record Store Day. And apparently Record Store Day comes, like, what they told me was that there's like people who decide what comes out on Record Store Day, not the label, but people who decide
Oh,
that are not them. And that we had to wait until time that things were up for consideration and then submit it. And it didn't happen. And then they're like, well, we could wait till next time. And we weren't in any hurries. We're like, okay. And I feel like this went on for a couple of years.
Yeah,
And finally it was like, fine, just put it out as a cassette. So yes, they finally put it out. It was a couple of years. Because we really thought it'd be cooler on vinyl. And we just gave up. And yes, and then Burger folded. It was out for a couple days and Burger folded, something like that.
it was
Yeah,
really close to that time of the
I mean, within
release.
a couple of days, couple of weeks, I mean, we were so excited, and then it just, vaporized. And, not that it's all about us, it's really about, the people that were affected by Burger. But, with all the time that we waited and all the excitement, we're going to play Burgerama and
Right.
get together and do some live shows. So we were casualties of the Burger implode, but certainly not as serious of casualties as the young woman who came forward. But yeah, we were collateral damage and all that, and it's really deflating. I think Kelly and Kristi can talk about how they felt about it, but it was kind of like, you're right at the starting line and poof. So we had to start from scratch.
We were very excited ourselves too. And Kristi, thank you for sharing with Karen, because I know that they had put out the Pandora's EP on Burger, right? So she's the connection there. So thank you for sharing that. So that explains how you get to Burger.
Well, see, that's the thing. And then I felt bad when they just imploded because I didn't really know anything about them. Honestly, people, of course, afterwards said, oh yeah, everybody knew they were like this. And it's like, I didn't do any research. I just thought, well, I have lots of friends who are on this label who've had stuff released. I'm sure it's fine, but I didn't really know anything. Very nice. Anyway, I don't know. So it was I just felt bad because, so I thoroughly researched Space Case, right now.
So speaking of that, we get to the vinyl release. Yay. So now we have the Space Case on vinyl. So how did you get to them as a label? Was there a connection there, networking, or?
Yeah, there was another label that was supposed to do it before Space Case. And then right before that was going to happen, I think we got the artwork done and everything.
Yeah.
They kind of changed the terms on us and we said, I don't think that's going to work. And then Kjehl came in with Space Case and made it happen.
I want to hear about this, Kjehl.
Yeah.
Well, we were originally talking about, will we self-release? Who could we shop it around to? And then that other deal fell through, and Ryan at Space Case had released a 100 Flowers 7-inch. So we did a cover of Fascist Groove Thing. Oh yeah. And yes. So that was kicking around, because I asked John Tally Jones, I said, do you have any ideas, who put out the 7-inch? He mentioned Space Case and Ryan, and I'd talked to Ryan before, and I thought, oh yeah, who knows, that might work out. So I just reached out to him, and it was great. I mean, it was pretty frictionless. It was like, yeah, sure, we're interested. And the fact that we had it mastered and had all the artwork and everything all set to go, I think it made it a little more appealing too, that it was just, boom. So, I mean, gosh, the three of us talked and we had it wrapped up pretty quickly. I mean, do you guys remember? I think it happened really quick.
It did. I mean, the vinyl manufacturing didn't.
Yes.
Because of the state of the world, but we did have it wrapped up quick. Yeah.
And then the artwork. So you had some help with the artwork, right? Putting this all together.
We did. I will say, talking about how fortunate we were to have the recordings, fortunate to have all those pictures, because we had a ton of pictures. John, who was in the last, took all those pictures for us, and that was great. Because I mean, I don't know what we would have done without these great photos that we had. But
Yep.
yes, Kel brought on.
I just wanted to,
Yeah.
that's John Frank. Not everybody necessarily knows who John of the Last is, so.
We've got a lot of Johns kicking around
Yeah.
Oh, true
the
that.
collective family.
Not John. Yes. Okay. John Frank. And then Kel brought on Tom Hofer to do the graphic design, which turned out fantastic. And how did we know Tom again?
From the Leaving Trains, and
Leaving Trains.
so he
Yeah.
and he's the bass player for Trotsky Ice Pick. He and I got together in a band, a solo project of mine, and then when Trotsky started up, he slid into the bass playing part for Trotsky, and then he ended up being our graphic designer for Trotsky and doing all our stuff. So it was kind of pretty seamless to just ask him to slide over and do this as well.
Nice.
And, yeah.
And on the day that we're recording, it's his birthday. So happy birthday, Tom. So-
It is. Happy birthday, Tom. Oh, and you know what? His brother Manfred did all the graphic design for Betsy's House, the Wednesday week.
Oh,
Because
Manfred did that? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
and that's back when, no computers,
Right.
he did everything by hand, all of that. That's Manfred. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's great. We've got Tom and Manfred helping us out.
That's keeping it in the family.
Yep. Yep.
It's a big family.
Yes. Yeah, they're very
it is.
creative, those Hofer brothers. They are. Oh my God. And so is their dad. When Tom came over the other to pick up his vinyl, he showed me a drawing that their dad had done. And I said, I think that'd be really good dime box sticker.
oh,
So he sent me the art. I might use that. But yeah, all those Hofers are very creative.
talented bunch.
And we've got, I want to keep this art thread going. We've got this video for Prop 2.
Tom too.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about this video, because first of all, I like the mixing of the old and the new, like the imaging, but talk to us a little bit about that and how that came about.
I wanted to recreate a little bit of like the black and white photos that John Frank took of us downtown. We wanted to go back downtown again and kind of recreate a little bit of that. So that was part of it. And then, we went to Chinatown over to like where Madame Wong's West used to be. We used to play there.
No, East.
Sorry, East. Yes, the original. And so that was part of it too. I think we also, we walked down Broadway or one of the streets where we had taken, where we'd taken photos. So, and then a little bit of the LA River, just cause, it was cool.
Yeah, that's always a great place to shoot video, right? Or pictures if you, the LA River. So that's a great video. So why did you pick Prop 2 as the video song? Is there a reason?
Well, also, I just wanted to go back to the filming of it. So my daughter filmed it, and we went out during the pandemic when you still weren't supposed to go out. We snuck out really early on a Sunday morning.
Oh,
It was when their giant. It was when the giant protests were happening downtown.
oh wow.
And anyway, it was. We felt like we were really. I think it was like 8 in the morning. Was it? Was it something really crazy
It was
early?
really early.
Yeah, we went out and we had, and it was really kind of fun to do. And Kelly scouted the Bridge River location. But why do we pick that song? Well, why do we pick that song, you guys? I mean, I have my thoughts. What do you guys think?
Did it have anything to do with it being one of the songs that wasn't on Betsy's House? Did that have anything to do with it?
No, I don't
No?
think so. What do you guys think?
That's just one of my favorite songs of Near Adventure songs. Just the musically it's very different, and it just, I think it sticks out. So I thought it would be a fun one to do a video for.
And I played the important role of saying, sounds good. That's a great idea.
The supportive role.
Yeah, that's,
So most of these songs, well, half of these songs end up being Betsy's House. So these are early versions of the Betsy's House songs.
4 of them.
Right. And then I wanted to mention before we let you guys go that Anyone Like Me is one of my favorite songs. So the 12 string is pretty predominant on that particular track. And I really like the arrangement of that song in particular.
Yeah, that's more like the way we played it with Steve Wynn and Go Deity, because we played it that way. And then when we went to record it for Wharf Rat Tales, Beatus said, "Oh, I don't like the way it does that. That's not," and he sort of changed the arrangement around. So that's why that's definitely the earlier Narrow Adventure Go Deity
Version,
arrangement of that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
It's a great song.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
So do you guys, sounds like Kelly, one of your favorites is Prop 2. Kristi, Kjehl, do you have favorites, or Kelly, do you have any other favorites that are on the record? And how does it sound all these years later listening to these? This has to be mind-blowing to hear songs decades later that you guys had recorded. Especially for you, Kjehl, right? Listening to these and not realizing that there were these recordings.
yeah, I was really excited. And, I listened to it and I just, and part of it, I had to relearn my bass parts.
Oh.
And I was really happy and surprised that we had all those cool songs. I mean, one of the things I really enjoyed about it is, look, I think this is a strength of Narrow Adventure with Kelly and Kristi's writing. The Yrdles wrote kind of unconventional song structures, and I think Narrow Adventure had that too in their own way, and it made it really unique. And so it's fun hearing stuff that you just, it's not real predictable. It's really eclectic, unusual, and it's fun to hear that. And we were a good little band back then. It surprised me hearing how good we were back then, because it's been decades since we played together and I listened to it. So it really made me excited about playing live again. And it was funny. I remember one time coming to rehearsal and saying, to Kristi, I need to talk to David about that bass line. I think that's his bass. I think he's playing on that recording. She goes, no, he's playing on the other one.
Oh.
And it's like, I don't even remember being able to play bass that fast and on some of these songs. So I'm really happy that, this is coming back to light, and that we're rehearsing these songs again. It was a great little band, and we're sounding good in rehearsals. So I'm excited.
Nice. So any particular favorites?
I like Hello a lot. That's really a different song for us. And what are the last two on the last two songs that are live?
Get Tough and Third Song.
I like that combination. I think those three songs are real standouts for me. But I've got a soft spot for I Hate Lying to Mom. That you just gotta love it. It's so fun playing, and Boy You Got Me Good. I love the bass line on that. So I'm not coming up with one song, but there's definitely a core group of songs that are really fun for me.
But yeah, Boy's not on the release, right? We're doing it in practice for the shows.
That's right.
But
That's right.
yeah, we've got some songs that from back then that aren't on the, like, we didn't have a recording of Conform or Die, which is an instrumental we used to do, but we're trying to remember that one again, like after all this time. So there's, yeah.
And I'll say relative to the question of, excited about it coming out. I mean, one thing that is really cool is that we have something to put out from back then.
Mm-hmm.
When we go out, not that I've been out to see bands in a couple of years now, really, but Don and I had been going out to see local bands, and one of the things that's so cool, even all these years later, seeing, the younger, the next generation, whatever, is you'll catch these windows of bands when they're really young and they're doing something really cool. And it's gonna go away at any minute. Kids are gonna go off to college, they're gonna go whatever. It's like people, go their own direction. But if you catch this little window, you get to really enjoy it. These days, more people record than back in our time. As I said, there's some bands from back in our day who there's no documentation of it unless somebody had a live recording. So anyway, so I'm excited that we actually did have stuff and we can put it out all these years later. Because I think this was our little window, not that we go on and do other things, but as Kjehl was saying, just sort of the structure of songs at that point in our development was so different, and so it's kind of cool to have that.
You know what else I want to say? I just remembered when we made our video. Of course, we had our same clothes, right? Kelly had Kjell's old jacket because Kjehl had given Kelly his old jacket.
That's right.
Kelly had her jacket. I had my dress, and we had our same clothes, which was kind of cool. We were just trying to recreate it,
That's amazing.
Even better.
And kudos that you could all fit into them. That's incredible.
Well, I tell you, my daughter thinks I'm a pack rat, but
It paid off.
That's the Kristi dress. Yeah.
There you go.
That's the Kristi dress.
So Soraya, did you catch this, that there's rehearsals going on?
Thank you, because these are the things that I love to hear. One, that they're rehearsing, and two, live shows. Can we look forward, and where do people get informed about where you're going to perform?
Facebook, Instagram, but we're playing May 1st at the Redwood with Family Tree Analog, and we're working on the third band, I think, right? And then we're playing at Cafe Zebulon in July with Smirk and retail. Oh my gosh, give me a second. Not retail slut. That was a store, right?
I was gonna, yeah.
I'll remember. And then, I need to talk to Kjehl. David Bash was just asking us about playing IPO. So anyway, we're going to be playing around.
Oh, excellent. So Soraya, we're gonna have to share these dates.
Yes.
July 23rd, Cafe Zebulon. It's on Narrow Adventure and on Instagram and on Facebook.
That other band was the Retail Simps.
Retail Simps, thank you.
Coming down from.
Yeah, they're coming down from Canada?
No, I thought it was Oregon.
Oregon. Somewhere up north.
Northwest, Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
We're very exciting. I'm so excited to get shows again.
Yeah, us too.
Very good. Very good. Soraya, any last questions?
I think I just have one small question, and that is, I really like hearing the enthusiasm about this song and the album, and Jeff and I have been kind of gushing over different songs, but one of the things that I found really interesting was the quality of the recordings that we got. Did that throw you off? Like, once those original tapes came out, the quality of the recording, was that kind of surprising? Because these are songs that they speak of you guys as a band, but they really kind of are timeless, or at least for me. Like, they're not just kind of, sometimes you hear some older recordings, you go, oh, that's kind of synonymous with that time, and it sounds like it. Were you kind of surprised with what you actually had?
I wasn't.
However,
And because, like Kjehl was saying, it's the beauty of Vidus, right? Vidus recorded you as you were. I mean, actually, I did remember recently. I was listening to it. It was like, oh my gosh, there's organ on there. I forgot to write that down in the credits. He played on. But I mean, he would add a little bit, but he didn't change you. He didn't change you, and he didn't put it. I mean, he just captured what was there. And that was the thing about that band, is it was the three of us and who we were. And we were not like, I mean, we were just like we are now. We get together now and we're just like we were then. You know, we're no different. So, and Vita's got that. So that's why it's timeless, because yeah. Would you guys agree? Yeah.
No?
Right.
Yeah, I think in one sense, it seemed like a missed opportunity that these recordings didn't come out at the time. But what's great about it is, we have a whole album of material that we can present that no one's really heard that before. And so that's kind of an exciting upside to having all these, these archive of recordings that have never been heard. So it kind of makes it even a little more extra special that it's coming out now. And, it's as far as Vita's, if he was interested in the urinals, and believe me, we were really primitive. I mean, he just had a really good eye and ear for catching unique bands. And I think he saw something unique about Narrow Adventure. And I hope people can hear that in the recordings. And yeah, I mean, later on, as we recorded Trotsky stuff, he was more into producing and kind of rearranging and things like that. But, he was a really good documentary filmmaker, if that's the right word. He really kind of captured these bands, these songs, these personalities, kind of at a moment where they were just figuring out who they were. And there was still that discovery that was going on about, becoming musicians and songwriters and performers. And so I think that part of the recordings capture that, there's a, we were young and learning all this stuff and kind of growing up together as people and musicians. And so that's a really cool underpinning that's there. And I think it comes out in the music and the lyrics, and it makes me think about those times as well.
I love that. I love that there's this, exactly what you're saying, Cal, that there's this unheard music that we can hear today, because you don't hear a lot of music made like it was made then. And things change, right? Times change, styles develop and change. So I totally agree with you. I get very excited when there's these recordings from that time period that I've never heard that come out. So I'm on the same page with you with that. It's very exciting. And the record's
Cool.
great. It's just a fun listen to. It's quick. It's a quick listen. It goes by quick.
Yeah.
I can go to Walmart and come back and the album's over. So
Leave them wanting more. That's what we say.
There you go.
And we do. So speaking of that, is there any chance of any new Narrow Adventure recordings?
Kristi, that's funny that came up. Gosh, I'm shocked.
How did you know?
Kelly?
I know, yeah, we do have a new song, and we have new stuff. So yeah,
Oh.
we might record it.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've got this new album from 81 to 83, and then possible new music and some live shows, Soraya. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, the next record we 2022 to 2024.
So we got to wait 40 years for that one. Nice.
Thank you for having us, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
It's
for coming
our
on.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Really,
Always nice
Thank
to
you.
see
Thank you very much. Yeah.
and seriously overdue. But we're so excited, and we're really excited for all of you.
Thank you.
This is-
Yeah, I love your shirt, Jeff, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Freak beat.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That's where we were hanging around when Narrow Adventure days with Moby, which was the precursor, as far as I'm concerned, to Freak Beat. So
That was Soraya's hangout too, right, Soraya?
Stories
Yes,
are-
it was.
Yeah.
gosh, well, we're probably there. I know you're younger than
See?
us. Maybe.
You never know. You never know.
Well, we look forward to seeing you guys at the Redwood and at Club Zebulon. So those should be some great shows, and we'll see you guys there.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, you guys. Thanks
Thanks.
for coming on.
Yeah,
Oh, great talking to you.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
May 1st, July 23rd. May 1st at the Redwood, July 23rd, Cafe Zebulon, and talks for IPO.
So I'm thinking there could be some more shows.
I'm
like-
hoping. I'm really hoping. I like the enthusiasm and the energy that they're talking about. Just this. And there's new music. Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a throwaway question that there
No, it wasn't though. Like we walked right in. They just said, "Oh, thank you for that segue." One of the things that I am really intrigued by is I want to go to David and Kristi's house and look at the box under the bed, because that box, there's stuff there. Look, they all made this really good point. It is, and Kelly said it best, it is so fortuitous. It's really a good thing that they have these recordings, because some bands just didn't do it. And you know, it's adding pages to this history of the LA music scene. And, you know, you and I have talked about it enough here and, you know, off air too. There's a lot of stories that just haven't been told about the LA music scene, and especially at the time that you and I are focusing on, like this kind of encapsulated early 80s time. And I'm just really glad that you and I have the ability to talk to the people who played in these bands that we admire, whose music we enjoy, and that they're still here to tell their story.
Still making music.
It's really, as a fan, I feel really, I'm really thankful for that. And because these are stories that deserve to be heard. The music deserves to be heard. And yes, I agree with you. Anyone like me, but I'm giving my props to the song You and Dave.
Oh,
Giving my props to the song You and Dave, because why else, Jeff? I love the beautiful harmonies, the beautiful voices coming together, and I hear it so much on You and Dave. But this is a cool group. I'm so glad this release saw the light of day and saw it in the way they wanted it, on vinyl.
yes. Yes.
And thanks to Space Case Records, because this is really a gift. This is really a gift for the fans.
Yes, absolutely.
What a great
Yes.
band.
Yes.
And I am beyond in admiration that they all had the same clothes and wore them for the video.
Wow, that is impressive.
That I just like the family affair of the video and the album coming together, because it's really about friends. Kristi said her daughter shot the video, you know, and then Tom Hoffer. I mean, this is a community. This is really a community project, and it's really a family project. I like that a lot.
Yes.
First of all, the three of them are really cool people, but I love the passion with which they talk about their music, and it sounds like they're having a good time.
Yes. Yeah, that really shines through.
And chapeau to Don Williams.
Yes.
Because if it wasn't for Don Williams pushing Kelly, we wouldn't have this great recording. So
Yes. Thank you, Don.
salute.
Indeed. All right, Soraya. So coming up next on the podcast, we'll be talking to the author of this book, All Over the Place, The Rise of the Bengals from the LA Underground, Eric Shade. If you don't have it, I think there's still a couple copies left, but there's probably not much. But we'll be talking to the author, Eric Shade, on this book on our next episode. At least that's our plan.
Yes.
It hasn't happened yet, but that's our plan.
It's coming. It's coming. Oh,
All
Jeff,
right, Soraya.
this is good times.
Indeed. It's a
Man,
good time to be a fan of good music.
Hell yes. And once again, Jeff, what else came up in this interview? The
The
recycler.
recycler.
We
Indeed.
need someone to make us a t-shirt with the logo of the recycler.
Yes.
Let's get it done, because I swear it
Yeah.
has popped up in so many of our episodes. So,
Yes.
and I'm sorry, Craigslist just don't cut it. No one's gonna say anything like that about Craigslist.
No.
We're finding that badass 8-string bass
Yes.
from being sold by Soupy Sales' son.
Yes. I love that whole story. And then the fact that Kel wanted to get that same bass for that same sound. So he flies to San Francisco using
No,
ponies.
Seattle.
Oh, Seattle.
He
Seattle.
flew to Seattle
Ah,
using his frequent flyer miles.
isn't that a great story?
I love it.
Yes, I love it too. So I'm gonna be at these shows, Soraya.
Well, I think it's going to be both of us. So.
Yes.
And I'd like it noted that of tonight's of this episode, I'm the only person that hasn't recorded with Venus Marare. That's a good thing, folks. That's
Yet.
a brilliant thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, once you get your drumming down, remember,
We're working on it.
Eddie Cowell wants you to be a drummer. So
Shoot, man. I just need to channel his spirit. That's it. Oh, mi gente. A grubiar.
groove on, Paisley people.